I now call to order the Committee on House Admin for today's hearing on the operations and priorities of the House officers. And the hearing record will remain open for 5 legislative days so that members might submit any materials that they wish to be included. When our Founding Fathers drafted our Constitution, the first institution of government that was created in Article 1, Section 1, was the House of Representatives. And unlike the Senate, where members can be appointed to vacancies, the Constitution requires that no member shall serve in the House who has not been elected by the people, and each member must stand for re-election every 2 years to make this body the closest to the people. That's why the House is known as the People's House. And the last clause of Article 1, Section 1, gives the House the power to choose our Speaker and other officers of the House. We're meeting today to hear from the officers of the House that were elected at the beginning of the 114th Congress about current House operations and priorities that each of the officers set forth to accomplish during this Congress as well as in the years to come. The House officers are partners with us as we work for the American people to implement their agenda to move this great nation forward. And while our primary purpose as members is to legislate and be the voice of our constituents, we also must, of course, be good stewards of the institution. The House officers are integral to meeting the daily and long-term needs of the Congress's work and the physical makeup of the institution itself. Each officer is sworn to do their very best to support the vital duties of this great legislative body. The House officers our committee will hear from today are the Clerk of the House, Karen Haas, the House Sergeant of Arms, Paul Irving, and the Chief Administration Officer, Ed Cassidy. For more than 200 years since the first United States Congress met, our House officers have been asked to take on all kinds of duties to better support and to improve the overall function of our institution. In 1789, Congress's first order of business was the election of its first Speaker, and its second order of business was the election of the first Clerk of the House. The Clerk of the House performs invaluable and essential duties that keep the legislative process in the House running smoothly. Her responsibilities include everything from processing introduced bills to operating the electronic voting system to transcribing floor and committee proceedings, and ultimately compiling and making available to the public all of the legislative proceedings and associated documents in both hard copy and electronic formats as well. The clerk serves as our official record keeper and protector of the House's collection of art, archives, and history. This responsibility requires great coordination, cooperation, and consultation with individual committees and certainly members as well of the House of the Office of the Historian and National Archives. And the office works very diligently to make the legislative and historical records accessible to the public, not only now, but in formats that will last even as technology evolves. And finally, the clerk's office is charged with carrying out the House's public disclosure responsibility and does so through the operation and maintenance of the House's financial disclosure filing system and the lobbying disclosure system. The clerk's office plays a vital role in the House's efforts to provide transparency in every action that we take and to ensure that both legislative and member information is accessible to the public. docs.house.gov, I think I got that one, Karen, which solves as an online one-stop shop for legislative information, is just one example of the efforts that the clerk's office undertakes. Our committee looks forward certainly to hearing from the clerk on her priorities and planned improvements for both House operations and public access to legislative information. The position of Sergeant at Arms of the House was created 2 weeks after the clerk's position in 1789. The Sergeant at Arms is the chief law enforcement and protocol officer in the House and is charged with securing and keeping order within the chamber. Duties of the position include all manner of security issues ranging from overseeing the House floor to ensuring that the proper identification is issued both to members and to staff, to coordinating with other law enforcement and security agencies to monitor potential threats to members of Congress and the complex here in the Capitol. The Sergeant at Arms manages state visits, including responsibilities related to security when the President or other dignitaries visit during joint sessions. The Sergeant at Arms develops protocols and programs to keep members, staff, and visitors safe in any potentially dangerous event and ensures that the Congress can accomplish its legislative work in a safe environment and in full view of the American public. Mr. Irving serves as a member of the U.S. Capitol Police Board responsible for policy oversight over the U.S. Capitol Police. Just last week, this committee, as you know, Paul, heard from the Chief of Police, and we certainly look forward to your perspective as well on current procedures and future improvements to both our campus and district office security as well. The Chief Administrative Officer position, often abbreviated as CAO, which is what we're going to refer to it here, was established in 1995 at the beginning of the 104th Congress. The CAO is responsible for providing administrative, financial, and technical support of the entire House. This office is also charged with managing the House's computer system and technology infrastructure, finances, human resources, procurement, budgeting, staff training, and is ultimately responsible with properly outfitting offices both here in D.C. as well in the district so that each can run at its maximum efficiency. And of particular note, the CAO manages the House finances, making sure that the House pays its bills on time and keeps good track of the funds and assets entrusted to us by the taxpayer. Also, the CAO runs the House Cybersecurity Program, and we are going to be interested to hear how the House must continue certainly to evolve our cyber posture to manage emerging threats. Additionally, the CAO plays a major role in providing logistics support for the House offices by running the House Supply Store, managing our concessionaire contracts, and provisioning furniture as well. Because of that broad logistics role, the CAO is very engaged in the Cannon renovation, and I'm sure we'll be hearing something about that as well, and their coordinated efforts with the architect of the Capitol's office on that project. The CAO also provides a number of unique services that are critical to House operations. The House Recording Studio, a business unit within the CAO, provides public access to the House floor and committee proceedings. The office supports the media galleries, ensuring open and accessible coverage of the House. And finally, the CAO also supports the House's Wounded Warrior Program, which provides members access to a remarkable group of veterans who are continuing their service to our country. Again, each House officer is integral to furthering effective governance while protecting taxpayers' dollars. And we are very, very interested in hearing from all of them because good policies provide for effective and accountable government. Together, the House continues to work on ways that we can all prioritize our resources, rein in costs, all while we uphold our commitment to increase the level of transparency, accountability, and public access to our operations for many years to come. So I want to thank all of the witnesses for appearing here today, and I would now recognize our ranking member.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to join with my friend Chairman Miller in welcoming our witnesses today. As you know, the Committee on House Administration has jurisdiction over the administration and operation of this institution. Your respective organizations, along with the House Superintendent, in many ways form the operational backbone of the House. You've been entrusted with ensuring the safety and security of visitors, members, and staff, maintaining the integrity of our legislative system and making sure that our bills are paid, and for that we are most appreciative. I would be remiss if I did not specifically mention the dedication and invaluable service of the people in your respective organizations. Their contributions often go unrecognized, but I'm sure that you would agree that you could not succeed without them, nor could this House. I look forward to hearing your testimony, but I'd like to make one note, Madam Chair, that I'm looking at the Honorable Ed Cassidy sitting up here at the front of the desk, and for years he was back in that corner from 10 years. And I don't know who the hell he was watching, me or you, but he was watching somebody. But we got you right now. Now we're watching you, sir. Thank you.
Thank the gentleman. Let me give a very quick, more formal introduction of our three testifiers, and then we'll start with our clerk. Karen Haas was sworn in as a clerk of the House of Representatives on January 5th, 2011. This is her second occupancy of this position, having previously served as a House clerk from 2005 to 2007. She has a very strong working knowledge of the House, and she served on Capitol Hill as a legislative staffer, a floor assistant to a former speaker, and a staff director for a House committee. Paul Irving was sworn in as a Sergeant of Arms of the U.S. House of Representatives on January 17, 2012, during the second session of the 112th Congress. He is the 36th person to hold this position since 1789. Previously, he served as an Assistant Director of the U.S. Secret Service from 2001 to 2008 and served as a special agent with the Secret Service for 25 years. And Ed Cassidy was elected to the post of CAO in January of 2014. Prior to serving as the CAO, Mr. Cassidy worked for 7 years as a senior leadership aide to Speaker Boehner, most recently as Director of House Operations. He has served more than 3 decades in federal government service, largely here in this House, but also in the executive branch. And again, we welcome you all and look forward to your testimony. And with that, the Chair would recognize the Honorable Karen Haas.
Chairman Miller, Ranking Member Brady, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify before the committee today regarding the priorities of the Office of the Clerk for the upcoming year. As you know, my staff and I routinely meet with your committee staff, and we appreciate the support and feedback that we receive. To a large extent, the core responsibilities of the clerk's office remain constant from year to year. Our office is charged with supporting the legislative operations of the House and its committees, preserving and protecting the heritage of the House, and providing numerous public disclosure services. While our core responsibilities remain fairly constant, the manner in which we perform our work requires regular review to ensure that we are taking advantage of rapidly evolving technology that can improve the timeliness, accuracy, transparency, and public accessibility of our work product. One of the clerk's most important responsibilities is recording, tallying, and publicly disclosing our floor votes cast in the House of Representatives. During the coming year, we will implement the next phase in a multi-year process of updating the electronic voting system used by the House. Our next step is to update the voting stations throughout the chamber. We will replace our voting boxes and related wiring and will upgrade member voting cards to be compatible with improved technology. In addition, we will also make plans to enhance the disclosure of vote results that the clerk's office makes publicly available online. We will also be working on a number of improvements to the clerk's website in the coming year. We are focusing our redesign efforts on making information we provide on House floor activity more prominent and user-friendly for both internal users and the public that relies on our office to provide accurate, timely, and official information on the legislative activity of the House. We hope to deploy a fully redesigned site by the end of next year. The clerk's office also provides numerous legislative support services for our House committees. In the coming year, we will continue to work with this committee on your project to streamline and standardize the process for producing committee hearing reports. Management of official House records is also an important responsibility of our office. We will continue to work closely with the National Archives as they develop a plan to ensure that there is adequate and sufficient space to preserve House and Senate records in Washington in the medium and long term. Our goal is to ensure that congressional records continue to be archived in a manner that allows committees to access their records in a timely manner and to make House records publicly available for research pursuant to House rules. We will continue to work closely with the House historian as he writes a history of Asian and Pacific Islander Americans in Congress. This project was commissioned by the House and builds on the already published works on Black Americans in Congress, women in Congress, and Hispanic Americans in Congress. We are also in the process of redesigning and enhancing the biographical directory of the U.S. Congress, which provides historical information on every member who has served. We have completed the requirements phase on the upgrade to the BioGuide website, and we will move into the design and development phase when resources permit. Finally, the clerk's office is charged with administering a number of public disclosure requirements. Following passage of the Stock Act in 2012, we undertook the design and development of the electronic filing system for all financial disclosure statements and periodic transaction reports. In May, we completed the second cycle in which the electronic filing system was available. We are pleased to deploy several improvements to the system, including the ability for filers to import information from previous electronic filings. In the upcoming year, we will provide technical assistance to the Committee on Ethics with its internal review system and continue to use feedback we receive from users to improve the system. Lastly, it's important to note that we depend on the professionalism, skill, and dedication of our staff as we carry out the roles in supporting the legislative operation of the House. In the clerk's office, we are fortunate to have many employees with decades of service to their institutional knowledge is invaluable. We recognize the need to continue to provide professional development and cross-training opportunities. Our staff is also well positioned to provide training to House employees concerning research and record management, among other topics. We look forward to continuing those efforts with the CAO through the House Learning Center. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you so very much. And the chair now recognizes Paul Irving, and we're going to ask you to keep to 5 minutes since we're in a vote series here.
I will. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sergeant at Arms.
Good afternoon, Chairman Miller, Mr. Brady, and members of the committee. I deeply appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today to discuss the Sergeant at Arms priorities for 2016 and beyond. I look forward to continuing to work closely with you and other members of the committee throughout the 114th Congress. As the committee is aware, as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the House, I'm responsible for directing all security matters which relate to the House of Representatives. Together with the Senate Sergeant at Arms, Architect of the Capitol, I serve as a member of the U.S. Capitol Police Board, which oversees the Capitol Police, as well as establishes policies and guidelines which safeguard the Capitol complex and its occupants. I also work very closely with officers of the House, Karen Haas and Ed Cassidy. In the security arena, I devote considerable time to a host of ongoing priorities to ensure the safety of members, their staff, and visitors of the House of Representatives. The priorities include threat and intelligence monitoring and analysis by reviewing all threats and intelligence directed to members of the House of Representatives in Washington, in their district offices, or wherever they may be. I monitor events on Capitol complex, such as demonstration activity, committee hearings, head of state visits, and major events taking place on the complex. Congressional delegations, or CODELs, are also monitored to ensure that the military and the Department of State provide security, adequate security in country. I monitor and review all security plans for member-sponsored events off the Capitol complex where members and leadership may gather. And of course, we ensure the security posture is maintained daily during each and every activity in the House of Representatives. Although I have submitted a more comprehensive testimony for the record with regard to our major ongoing initiatives for FY16, I'd like to mention a few of them briefly. One of our top priorities is airspace security, and we are working closely with the Department of Defense, Department of Transportation, and Department of Homeland Security to ensure we have the most efficient and robust early detection, identification, and warning systems. With regard to garage security, we're working toward a 100% screening of all those who enter our House office buildings. We're also working on an initiative to safeguard our chamber galleries to ensure that all searches are conducted to prevent any potential disruption to those galleries. Another important project that will utilize no additional manpower is the relocation of our appointments desks to ensure that all of those entering the Capitol are vetted. Working in conjunction with the Capitol Police Board and members of the Capitol Police, our camera security initiative will ensure that all coverage of the exterior of the Capitol is taken care of by the end of this fiscal year. To enhance district office security, we're in the process of offering mail hoods to district offices so that district staff can open mail safely and securely in the confines of their own offices. And we're working toward enhancing literature and tools available to our law enforcement coordinator program. To further improvement of our response to emergencies on the Capitol complex, we're continuing to promote the importance of our office emergency coordinator program to encourage every member office to partake in that program. Aside from long-term initiatives, some of the areas that we're focusing on have been this year have been the State of the Union address, several gold medal ceremonies, 8 visits by heads of state, 4 joint meetings of Congress in the House chamber, and the previous Memorial Day concert. There are a number of major events this year for which we're planning is underway. Primarily, the Speaker has extended an invitation to the Pope to address a joint session of Congress on September 24th. This is the first such address delivered by a pontiff to Congress. In my role as a member of the Capitol Police Board, I spend considerable time attending to duties associated with oversight of the U.S. Capitol Police. This includes the protection, security, intelligence, and threat assessment, counterterrorism, and emergency response and preparedness functions of the Capitol Police. This includes life safety, assessment, and recovery relating to the continuity of Congress and the protection of individuals in the Capitol complex. I want to assure the committee that I work very closely with the members of the Capitol Police Board, the Chief of Police and his staff, and of course I report to you, leadership, and this committee on these critical issues so vital to the safety and security of all those members, staff, and visitors to the House of Representatives. In closing, I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to appear before you to discuss some of my priorities for the current year, FY16 and beyond. As always, I want to assure you of my deep commitment and that of everyone in my office of providing the finest possible service to the House of Representatives while maintaining a safe and secure environment for all. As noted, I've submitted my full testimony for the record. I will continue to keep the committee informed of my activities, and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cassidy.
Thank you. Information technology, physical property and equipment, and a wide range of other administrative and support services, the men and women in the Chief Administrative Office continually strive to carry out efficiently and effectively our wide range of responsibilities. And that imperative will grow even more compelling this year as the CAO launches costly but absolutely critical initiatives in cybersecurity, asset management, and a number of others that I'd be happy to discuss with the committee. In the interest of time, however, and recognizing that votes have been ordered over in the House chamber, I'll suspend at this point and look forward to discussing those issues in detail with the committee during the questions and answers.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And before we adjourn here and we'll reconvene right after votes, let me just say that really the purpose of this hearing was to obviously provide for our due diligence with oversight, but really in the most part, a driving impetus for me was really to be able to demonstrate how efficiently and effectively this House is being run, and what a great team of House officers the Speaker has appointed for this Congress, and the Clerk's office, the transparency and the different things that you've done there are just remarkable, I think, and certainly Mr. Irving, to be able to look at the challenges that our nation is facing and here on this campus, and to be so safe and secure is, again, just a mark of yourself and your entire team. And to Mr. Cassidy, of course, we just came through a clean audit, and I know there's other things that the media wants to write about here sometimes, but that is a wonderful, wonderful achievement that has happened with your team and working together with everyone. So I look forward to really helping to amplify what I think is an extremely positive team of House officers and the remarkable work that's happening here. And at this time, I would recess the hearing, and the committee will reconvene right after the vote series. Okay, we will reconvene the Committee on House Administration to continue the hearing on the House officers. And a quorum is present, so we can proceed. And Clerk Haas, I think I will start right in with you.
Okay.
I appreciated very much and was interested on your testimony about the electronic voting system, which obviously we all have a huge interest in. Maybe you could just flesh out for us a bit about the system, some of the challenges that you're facing. I know that we had a little bit of a chat about some of the technology is new and some of it is old, and just some of the various problems that you're looking at there and what you think you need to do and how we can be of assistance with that. Obviously, we can't have any incidents there.
I appreciate that. We have been in a multi-year process of updating the electronic voting system. In 2009 and 2010, the summary boards and the main display boards were upgraded. What we have discovered is, one of the last pieces on the floor to be upgraded are the voting stations themselves, as well as the wiring. So we are undertaking a project to update both the wiring and the workstations, the voting stations. We have started that process. We expect to be able to begin testing in August of next year. As part of that, we will also be upgrading the cards, the voting cards that members use, the technology. And the current cards are quite old, so it's an opportunity for us to look at new technologies and other potential ways that we can use those cards. So we are beginning the process now. As I mentioned, we expect to be able to test in August of next year and then would deploy the end of the Congress or the beginning of the new Congress. But that will be in coordination with this committee and with leadership.
I guess just as members, we've all gotten used to wherever the voting stations are at. So I don't know if you have any plans to move those, or, there's always been, every time we have a series of 2-minute votes, I sometimes think it would be good to have a voting station in the middle of some of those rows, but I don't know if that's even possible.
Well, so currently, under our current situation, it's not possible. We are maxed out. We have 46 stations throughout the chamber. With this new upgrade, we will be able to have that option if leadership decides they would like additional stations. That's something that has been coordinated over the years with leadership on both sides of the aisle. So we are open to providing additional stations if that's what the decision is.
Okay, very good. To the Sergeant at Arms, I'd like to ask you a little bit about the, we had a hearing, as you were aware, a couple of weeks ago with Chief Dine. And one of the things that we were, I think all the members were interested in was the gyrocopter and that entire incident. And I guess I would just ask you, do you have anything that you would, as lessons learned and various things that you've been participating in since that time of how we can better protect the campus here? One of the things, I'm not sure if I'm advocating for this, but I did ask the chief about it. And here I think I'm putting my Homeland Security hat on, but if you look along the southern border and the way that we've been able to utilize, actually in some cases, surplus DOD goods that have been particularly effective at border security with the eye in the sky. I'm not, as I say, I don't think I'm advocating certainly for some of the blimps or some of the things, the dirigibles that you can see, but some of the UAVs that they have available now, the VADARs, et cetera, are incredibly effective. And I'm not sure, again, whether that's something that could be utilized here, but perhaps. What is your thought on something like that?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, as a matter of fact, even before the gyro incident, which obviously generated a fair amount of attention here, we were looking at the airspace security. It was a pretty aggressive initiative to improve some of the gaps that we have. We'll have to get into more of a classified session to get into some of that. But that was a priority for us. We work very closely with the Department of Defense, Department of Transportation, and Homeland Security with some continuing efforts in that endeavor. There'll be a couple more things coming online, again, which I'll allude to in a classified briefing. But just to I just want the committee to be aware of the fact that the Capitol Police Board and the Capitol Police were looking at this and working very closely with Defense and the other executive branch agencies into this issue. You raise an excellent point in terms of the southwest border. There are systems that are in place down there that we're very well aware of. It's a different pattern here in an urban and a congested urban environment versus something that's a little less congested. So there are more challenges to airspace security in this national capital region. Having said that, we've got some countermeasures in place, and we'll have some additional ones in the not-too-distant future. But I just want to assure you that there are a couple of themes here. From the perspective of airspace security, which is the early identification and warning, we're working aggressively on that. In terms of the Capitol Police's ability to conduct certain countermeasures, their weapons, and use of force policy, that's a separate issue which we've also addressed. And again, we can get into that a little bit more in detail in a classified session. We also have not only the low and slow aircraft, but also the drone issue. That is another facet of this that we're also working. We also have some classified systems in place that we can chat with further. But I just want to assure the committee that the Capitol Police Board, the Capitol Police, we're aggressively working this with our partners in military and other executive branch agencies.
You know, since you mentioned the Capitol Police Board, let me just ask a question, and if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. Maybe I'm just making a comment here, but I'm looking at the construct of the Capitol Police Board, which has been in place for 150 years or something, and maybe it made sense then. I'm not sure that it does right now. So you have yourself, and then your Senate counterpart, and then the architect of the Capitol on there. And I just think from a management wiring diagram, if you will, organizational chart, I'm not sure that serves us as well as perhaps it should. So I'm almost throwing this out to the other members of the committee because just for contemplating that, and I don't know if you have any comment about that, or since you sit on there, you'd rather not say. I totally understand, but I personally have a little bit of consternation about whether or not it is the best system.
I'm certainly, feel free to comment on it if you like, Madam Chair. I receive, I speak to Kim Dine on a daily basis on issues relating to House-wide interests, security and protocol interests. The Senate Sergeant at Arms does the same relative to the Senate. But the Senate Sergeant at Arms and I deal with Kim Dine, again, on a daily basis relative to security for the entire complex. And I think it's a good dynamic. The relationship that I have with the Senate Sergeant at Arms to deal with security campus-wide. As you know, we have the Pope coming for joint visits, State of the Union, inaugurations, events that require campus-wide security protocols. We have a lot of initiatives that are ongoing now that are also campus-wide, so I work very, very closely with the Senate Sergeant at Arms. But I also filter many comments, requests, concerns from members, House members, to the chief, so that his phone's not ringing from every member. It'll come to me. I'll speak to them about it. I'll express those concerns to the chief. And I really want to assure the committee that the Capitol Police Board does exert, robust oversight on the chief. We're with him each and every day. I know that there's been a number of things in the media lately that cause concern, but we've talked to the chief before a lot of these issues became public, and certainly afterwards. So, and aside from obviously both sergeants at arms, the architect of the Capitol is a critical component because a lot of the security initiatives that we want to put in place deal with the infrastructure of the Capitol and the office buildings, and the architect has obviously jurisdiction over that. So, I would say it's a pretty good construct, but again, I'm on the board, so
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So.
Okay, the chair recognizes our ranking member.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The luxury you have of asking a question behind you is that I don't have to ask any because you're already great minds think alike. You would ask the questions I would ask, and you would answer them. But I want to say thank you to the clerk and to the Sergeant at Arms and to the Chief Administrative Officer, because I know you have a tough job dealing with our egos, 435 of us. Appreciate the job that you do. Appreciate the courtesy that you show us on the floor every time we're there, which we're always there every day. Sergeant at Arms, thank you for being informative. We don't get that much from the chief, and we've expressed that, but you always keep us informed what's going on every second, every minute, and we do appreciate that, and I know that'll continue. We thank you for that, and to the Chief Administrative Officer, thank you. You've been a friend for a lot of years. Thank you for what you do, and again, dealing with all the egos that you have to deal with. The only question I would have is we are your oversight committee, so if there's anything you need us to do to make your job a little easier, because when your job becomes easier, nobody comes and complains to us, and causes us any problems. So is there anything you think that we need to do, whether it be right here now or anywhere on the floor? I see you always on the floor, in my offices, you just come to us and whatever we can make it easier for you, because I know it's tough enough, again, dealing with us, dealing with the egos that you have to deal with. So thank you again for all your being here.
Thank you. We appreciate very much your support.
Mr. Harper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to each of you for the great work you do. And unlike many entities that we might provide some oversight on, we have firsthand knowledge of what you do, and we appreciate the hard work. And what you do is not really, it's not, certainly not partisan, it's really not bipartisan, it's nonpartisan, and you make this place function very well. So we thank you for that. But we all want to do the very best we can, whatever that role is. And, you know, as a person who occupies an office in Cannon, we would obviously wish that we weren't going through that process. Mr. Cassidy, that's an incredible undertaking, past you, as you know, but coming along very nicely, a long process. But you have so much to deal with, each of you, and it's just one of the buildings that we have responsibility for. And but I want to say first to you, Mr. Cassidy, congratulations on the audit. That is not an easy accomplishment. Can you share a little bit of background on that for us, on how that worked, and your comments on that?
Certainly, Mr. Harper, and thank you very much for those kind words. As was mentioned by the chairman in her opening remarks, the House recently received its 17th consecutive clean audit. These audits occur every year. They are conducted by an outside private auditing firm, CPA firm. That firm is contracted for, not by us, but by the Inspector General of the House, and it is essentially a review of the House's financial managers. It is, I don't know that it's unprecedented across the government, but certainly nowhere else in the legislative branch and nowhere in the executive branch of which I'm aware, not even the Senate, gets independent outside audits of its financial statements. But the House does. It's a very worthwhile exercise. It raises the confidence, we hope, of members and the citizens you represent, that the funds entrusted to the United States House of Representatives are spent effectively and efficiently and appropriately. And this audit, if you will, is, any of you who have been in business know how daunting it can be to be audited by anybody. I had hundreds of auditors work for me in the executive branch, and I got a nonstop stream of calls from CEOs and other corporate officials complaining about the enthusiasm of our auditors. Our folks are on the other side of that. You know, our financial managers under the Chief Financial Officer of the House, Tracy Bobian, who's with me here today, right. They're on the receiving end of this annual financial audit. But the audit is a report card, if you will. And Tracy and her team welcome the opportunity to test themselves against the highest generally accepted accounting principles, and they welcome the fact that each and every year, those auditors, no surprise to any of you who have been audited, they find areas that can be improved. And as the chairman of this committee likes to say, the biggest room in any house is the room for improvement. Our financial staff, our accountants, our financial managers relish the opportunity not only to be tested against those standards, but to have outside independent eyes point out areas where we can improve. And each and every year, our processes do improve as a direct result of that audit. I'll be happy to talk later about some examples of that, the most current of which would be our asset management reform project that's underway right now. But I appreciate the kind words. Sure. Our folks live and breathe that about 9 months out of every year. And it's always a huge sigh of relief when we get that report. And this year's report was more encouraging than any in recent memory. So thank you.
Congratulations, and to the team, congratulations. Mr. Irving, I thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and it's a lot and a great responsibility that you have to look at the safety of our Capitol complex and things that are there. But I'd like to talk for just a moment, I only have just a little bit of time left, about the security needs in our district offices. I think there are over 800 district offices across the country and in the territories. And so those are things that, you know, we all have concerns about. And I know I've discussed those with you in the past. I know the mail hoods have been discussed in the district offices. Can you just share a little bit about what you see as the things that we can do to improve our security in the district offices?
No, thank you very much, Congressman. I appreciate your kind words again. And the district offices are certainly a challenge because, as you indicate, there are over 800, actually over 900. We need to maintain relationships with each and every one of them. We can't be everywhere, so we have a robust program, law enforcement coordinator program, whereby we ask staff in each district office to appoint someone to work with my office, to work liaison with local law enforcement. Anytime a member is going to make an appearance or do something in their district that could raise a certain profile, we'd like to ensure local law enforcement is apprised of that. District office security is critical. Resident security is critical. So we would like law enforcement coordinators to contact our office, and we provide them guidance on a daily basis. We give them checklists. We give them tools that they may need to ensure that those district offices and the members are as safe as possible.
Yeah, and I know for us, you know, and for you, threat assessment is always an ongoing situation because
Yes.
some are legitimate, some are not, and I know that's a difficult thing. But I want to say thank you for the job your office does. It works very well, I know, with our office for sure, and others that I hear. And my time is up, so I yield back. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Mr. Nugent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you all, your service to this country and to the House of Representatives in particular. It is you all have unique and different responsibilities, but I really want to talk to our Sergeant at Arms. I appreciate you coming up in our meeting yesterday. It was very enlightening in regards to the discussion as it relates to the Capitol Police. And you know my background in law enforcement, and I want to make sure that the Capitol Police Board has the authority and has the ability to do what they need to do. But more importantly, I want to make sure that the Chief of Police is accountable to you all, and through oversight of this committee to make sure that, you know, we get the best of the best. You know, I think that, and what I worry about in my conversations with some of the officers is that they feel underappreciated. You know, they're not security guards, they're Capitol Police. And it is a huge responsibility to keep this campus and all the members safe. And I know we're on the same page when it comes to that. But all I can is encourage the Capitol Police Board is to make sure that they hold the Chief of Police accountable, because we talked about a numerous number of issues yesterday, everything from, you know, training, experience, the things that are important to the rank and file, because, you know, they want to do a great job. Most of our police officers across this country, and more importantly right here in the Capitol, really want to do a good job. And they want to be proud of the job that they do. They want to be proud of the agency they serve with and those that serve with them. And so we need to do everything, and I think the chairman is on the right track by holding the meeting that we had with the chief last week, or week before, I guess. Yeah, it all runs together, Madam Chair. But it is really important to us, because we are the community. The members are the community that they're sworn to protect, obviously the citizens that come to the Capitol, but we're the constituency, and we want to make sure that we have a voice in that. And I think by you coming and sitting down and talking with members, and I know you've done that in the past, you have other meetings that we've had, but you need to have all the information at your fingertips. And I know that you've all had issues from time to time, and I have no doubt that you're going to rectify that, at least by our conversation yesterday. And if you want to add anything as it relates to the Capitol Police. But I just want to just reiterate that, you know, I have the utmost respect for those that wear the uniform in law enforcement to protect us no matter where you are in this great country. And you talk about the district offices, it is so important that they have a good liaison with their local law enforcement agency, because you're up here and I'm down in Florida, and the local law enforcement agency has the primary responsibility at that point to make sure that things go right, and they need help from time to time. But go right ahead.
No, thank you, Congressman. Again, appreciate all of your time and attention to this. The committee has been so supportive, and going back to the chair's comments and Mr. Brady's comments, this committee has always been so responsive and supportive. Usually, before we make an attempt to implement a security measure which has a tendency of affecting the business process of the institution, I come to you first because there's a fair chance your phone will ring if we've done something to change a certain business process which has a tendency of coming down on convenience or lack thereof. Having said that, your door's always been open. I appreciate all of the time that you and I have spent together talking these issues. Because of your background, you know all of these issues, and I appreciate your support of the Capitol Police Board and the Capitol Police. I do want to assure you that the Capitol Police Board is conducting robust oversight, of the chief and of the Capitol Police. They do a fantastic job each and every day. They have a tough job. We hear some things every now and then in the press, but frankly, there are thousands of contact with the public, with members each and every day, and they do a fantastic job. And my hat's off to the men and women of the Capitol Police. But more importantly, I thank you for your leadership, your oversight, and your support. And we'll certainly continue to keep you posted as we work all of the issues that we addressed yesterday, certainly things that have been out there. But again, I want to thank you for all your support.
I appreciate that. And Madam Chair, the only thing, I'm out of time, but I would hope that we have a follow-up meeting with the Capitol Police Board, with yourself or with the chief to see where they are in regards to the things that we've talked about. And I know that the Sergeant at Arms has talked about where are we at in regards to, are those things getting fixed to our satisfaction? And I know Mr. Brady feels the same way. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but we want to know. And I think that's a fair thing for us to do. And I appreciate your indulgence. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I'd like to associate myself with many of the comments that my colleague, Mr. Nugent, mentioned about our concerns, and we had a great meeting, Mr. Irving, just yesterday, and talked about many of these issues. Thank you for your service. Thanks for what you're doing to address some of these issues. Thank you all for being a part of this great institution. I come from a different perspective. I spent 16 years as a district office staffer, so I have a vested interest in district office issues, and I know many of the issues that each of you address relate to district offices, and there are some differences between district offices and what we see here in D.C., and sometimes I think that the district offices and what they have access to may be taken for granted because of the access that we have on this campus to many, many different issues, that security being one of them. So I'm glad, Mr. Irving, that there has been a focus on district office security issues, and I look forward to working with you with my perspective if there are any issues that you think I can be helpful on in the future, too. One issue before, I'll start with you, Mr. Irving, and this actually, unfortunately, relates back here. It's something you mentioned in your testimony about the garage security enhancement project. Would the completion of that project require any different procedures for members and staff, in your opinion?
There will be some changes, and I'm working very carefully with the committee and leadership on that. We will be restricting, or the goal ultimately is to restrict the number of access points so that everyone can undergo security screening. So that will certainly require, assistance from the committee and, as I say, in leadership to get us to that point. There will be some conveniences that will be dispensed with, but I will say that we'll do everything we can to ensure that members have access to the doors that they require. We'll probably be undergoing either a prox card or a biometric type of entrance system so that members can utilize more doors. As you know, members do not undergo magnetometer screening, whereas staff and visitors do. It'll probably be a very similar protocol, but the goal is for everyone to have that 100% screening.
Well, thank you. And you and I would agree that project is critical.
Yes, and I appreciate so much the committee's support on that project, as mail hoods, and I could go on and a lot of the initiatives that I've enumerated in my testimony. This committee has been so supportive, so thank you. And I know that we'll have to work through some of the details of that initiative because of the access point closures and routings and what have you, but we'll do our best to make sure that the business process of the institution is not affected.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Paul. Mr. Cassidy, back to my district office issues. Obviously, you and I have talked about many different district office issues, and I'm happy to be someone that can offer a different perspective on many of the issues. And I know one issue that we've worked on has been district office connectivity. I can tell you firsthand, the connectivity issues in a district office are vastly different than what we can experience here on this campus. And we've been very active as a committee and been concerned with these connections. And I know there's been an initiative that you've been working on, the CAO has been working on. Can you kind of give us an update on how that's going and anything the committee can do to be of assistance?
Certainly, Congressman. The committee's already been very helpful on this project. The issue in a nutshell, for those who aren't familiar with it, is how do we connect the computer systems in 800 or 900 district offices with the House network back here? For many years now, we've done that by providing between Washington and a member's principal district office a high-speed data link called an MPLS circuit. And then from the main district office to any other district offices that a member may have, they're responsible for providing that connection. But the House has connected the primary office back to here. The challenge around that is that in the years since that technical approach was adopted, the demand for data to move back and forth through this pipeline, if you will, has exploded as a result of video and social media and all the things with which the committee is familiar. With that in mind, what we've been looking at is an alternative to the MPLS circuits we use today, which have a maximum flow-through rate of 3 megabytes, if you will. We've been looking at something called VPN, which is an internet connectivity.
Which some offices use now.
Which many offices, most offices in fact, use to connect their primary office to any satellite offices, and a small number use to connect their DC offices to here. It's a good news, bad news story. The good news in the first instance is that it's a lot less expensive to use VPN than it is to use MPLS. And secondly, the VPN technology has a much higher ceiling, if you will, on the amount and the speed with which data can move back and forth, but it also has a lower floor. So with the classic traditional MPLS model we've been using, you get 3 megabytes, you don't get any more than that, and you don't get any less. With VPN, you get a much higher ceiling, but 3 isn't guaranteed, depending on the time of day, depending on the makeup of the network in your district, the number of customers, the demand and such, you may find slower speeds. What we've done in the last several months with the strong support of this committee is to begin connecting up members' primary district offices. We're up over 70 now. The majority of those are freshmen, but they're not all freshmen. Several members of this committee participated in a pilot project around this. And we have now have a fairly robust plan, which we will share with the committee shortly, to take that number up around 400. As it happens, there are a handful of members in certain parts of the country. The islands are a good example of that, but there are actually some rural areas in this country where the current MPLS approach actually is the best. So we're not going to mandate a move to VPN, but we're going to facilitate a move to VPN, and we're going to do it as quickly as we can possibly get it done. We learned a lot in the pilot, and the staff of this committee was an integral part of that process. We hope to put those lessons learned to use. We may find out, we actually have a RFP that was on the street recently, just closed, seeking proposals to provide this service. We may find out we've got some hybrid approaches that employ both of those technologies in particular places, and so you get the best of both. But we're going to work very closely with this committee going forward as we have up to this date and try to make this transition as expeditious as we can. But it's probably another year or two before we get this thing rolled out to all the offices that want it. But we're moving, in fact, we're ahead of schedule right now on that rollout.
Thank you. My time's expired.
Mrs. Comstock.
Oh, Madam Chairman, I don't have any questions. Here.
Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I wanted to, first of all, let me say thank you guys for being here. Even Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Johnson, or Mr. Irving coming by yesterday and taking time to visit with us. I appreciate that. It meant a lot to us. I want to go back and talk about the partnering agencies from the Capitol Hill Police's perspective. Talk to me about the confidence in our response with the other agencies that we've taken in the aftermath of some of the drone stuff, some of the gyrocopter stuff. Can you give me a little briefing, get me caught up to speed as far as how you feel like you guys are doing there?
Thank you, Congressman. We engage our local, federal, state partners in law enforcement on all of these issues. On the gyro issue in particular that you addressed, there are a number of working groups, airspace security working groups specifically, dealing with a number of Department of Homeland Security agencies, as well as, military and Department of Transportation, FAA, Secret Service. MPD is involved, Metro Transit, you've got Park Police, but Pentagon Force Protection Agency. So there are a lot of local, National Capital Region law enforcement partners that are engaged with the Capitol Police. The chief enjoys a very good relationship with all of those other chiefs.
Okay.
And the Capitol Police Board obviously is attuned to all of those meetings and monitors those meetings. So I will tell you that there's a considerable respect amongst all the law enforcement for each other, not only in the law enforcement, domestic law enforcement perspective, policing perspective, but also in the intelligence perspective, intelligence sharing perspective.
Great, and I love to hear the relational side is good and even working. Let me talk specifically about the technical aspect, and I believe I've got the date from memory that serves me correctly. Is January 2014? There was a completely new system put in for communications. We talked a lot about the interoperability of it. You can talk about specifically the gyrocopter that day, but my larger concern is that functional? Do we do tests or drills on that? Are we sure that we've got an opportunity or really the potential to communicate across the board, going to a frequency, whatever it is? Is there a plan in place that if there is, God forbid, a situation that we're able to utilize that to the max?
Thank you, Congressman. On the communication front, the new radio modernization program has been working well, a tremendous success. There is interoperability, and as we've discussed, interoperability is a combination of pre-event planning, not only before something happens, but also merging that pre-event planning with the technology. From a technological perspective, the new radio modernization program can accomplish that. There is interoperability amongst all of the law enforcement entities in the National Capital Region. Training is always an issue in terms of time and expense. Capitol Police is working toward training with other law enforcement partners, not as much as we'd like. We can tell you, though, that there is command level, there's communication almost daily between the command centers, Capitol Police command centers, Metro PD command centers, and the other multi-agency coordinating centers in the National Capital Region.
So if something was to happen this afternoon, there'd be a frequency or something that everybody is instructed to go to, that the Capitol Hill Police is talking to agencies across the board. Did we feel comfortable that is there that particular plan's in place as
yes,
opposed to
very confident that at the command center level, absolutely.
Okay. Before my time expires, I want to bring Mr. Cassidy in this as well. And a lot of times we're talking about the very physical threats. I want to touch on cybersecurity for just a moment there, and both of you guys can address this. It's a high priority for this committee, obviously, as it is for others. And I just want to talk about what are we taking proactive steps in regards of the cybersecurity, and how do we see that possibly affecting us here from this particular committee's perspective? Mr. Cassidy.
Congressman, as you know, and as all the members of the committee know, we don't lack for high priorities in the IT area here in the House. We've got a number of them, but there's no higher priority for us than cybersecurity. This is a target-rich environment. You've got 10 or 11,000 members and staff deployed in 800 or 900 locations around the country. We've got lots of devices, lots of programs, lots of systems, lots of flexibility that supports a pretty decentralized working style, if you will, here in the House. The danger is that on any given day, at any given minute, any one of those people is likely clicking on something they shouldn't click on. And so that's a big challenge. And so what we've done to try to mitigate that, in addition to a number of technical approaches around secure configuration management and the like.
Can I just pause? When you say they're clicking on something they shouldn't be, obviously we have a certain responsibility, members in our staff. Can you be a little bit more specific when you say that may put us a little bit more at risk?
Certainly. For example, sir, phishing campaigns, which are known to all of us, are campaigns in which someone pretending to be someone that you know sends you an email that looks just like you'd expect an email to look like from that individual or that organization, and asks you or offers to show you something, or asks you to click on a link. If you click on that link, you've immediately put the House at risk. Okay. And so we've got technological approaches to deal with that, but we also are working much harder in the last year or two on the education side. As you'll recall, we've stiffened our password policies recently. You require longer passwords. You have to change them more frequently. You can't keep flipping back and forth between the last 2 or 3 passwords you've used, which I've done most of my adult life. We now require you to come up with truly new passwords. We produce a publication called Connected and Secure. It goes out every single month. Trying to give people in the House suggestions around safe social media practices, email practices, and the like.
All right, well, appreciate your work on that. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank the gentleman very much. Are there any other questions from any of the members? Well, I just want to again thank all of the House officers for their participation today and their statements and the answering the questions. Obviously, you have a very engaged committee here with what is happening with the House officers, but I think I looked at this as an opportunity to really make sure that folks understood what this speaker has done in appointing these individuals and how he really is such an institutionalist and believes in this institution, and how we are all so committed in our common goals to make sure that this House runs effectively, efficiently, transparently, safely, and in every way. And as we look at all the different challenges that the House faces, we look to all of you. And obviously, this committee wants to ensure that you have the resources that you need and that we can help you in any way that we can to share our common goal. And it looks like Mr. Cassidy would like to say one other thing as well, and I certainly recognize you to say so.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to take a moment, if I could, a moment of privilege, if you will. Mention was made earlier about the work done by all of our staffs, and not enough has been said about the work done by your staffs. And in particular, I want to point out, as everyone up there knows, but maybe not everyone in the room knows, our positions are thoroughly nonpartisan. Our organizations are thoroughly nonpartisan. We serve the House equally. We work with this committee equally. There isn't anybody in this room today who's worked harder or cared more or done more to facilitate our efforts in the CAO, and I hope I speak for my colleagues, than Kyle Anderson, the Minority Staff Director of this committee. He has recently announced his intention to move on. And I just wanted to say personally how much I appreciate Kyle's contributions, his advice, his counsel, and the effort he's undertaken to help us do our jobs, because at the end of the day, our jobs are really about helping all of you do your jobs, and Kyle has been a terrific partner.
I appreciate you saying that. Kyle is going to be missed. He's great. He really is. He's wonderful to work with.
Now we need to get the double doors open so he can get his head out.
All right. Well, we thank you all very, very much for your appearance today, and I thank the committee members as well for appearing. And with this, the meeting will be adjourned.